Hey everyone, welcome back to Take Back Your Power, brought to you by Brain Soul Success. I am here with my friend Stephanie. She is awesome. We just did an amazing summit that she put on. Wow, you did such a great job with that. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Dr. Louise, it is such an honor, and I'm incredibly excited to have this conversation. So, thank you for welcoming me into your community and allowing me to share a little bit of my passion and my knowledge with you guys today.
Oh, you're brilliant. I can't wait. So I'm super excited. I'm gonna just introduce you here, read a little of your bio. So Stephanie Grosvenor, she is a nutritionist and a functional medicine health coach, specializing in working with high achieving driven professionals to really up level their health so they can thrive and have the confidence in business and relationships and in their life. She's also the founder and the head formulator of the vitamin G nutraceuticals and the host of the Global Wellness Summit, the Healthy Living Blueprint. Ken, you did such a great job with that. But I know you have a story too, and that's how you got into this whole thing. You battled for 15 years with chronic health issues. So we'll hear your story here. And then you learned how to heal yourself, and that brought you on this path. It's always that way, right? And it's different for everyone, but it's so beautiful to hear the transformation. I know that as an ambitious and successful entrepreneur yourself, you've experienced firsthand the importance, again, of taking care of yourself and learning how to do it. And now you have both groups and you work individually with people. You're the founder of the Unlimited You Coaching, where Stephanie provides private coaching as well as group wellness mentorship programs. And they're designed to help you create the life that you want so you can have a life well lived, one that you absolutely love with. Her ultimate goal is to help you look, live, feel, and age better than you ever have before. Stephanie has helped countless men and women overcome digestive issues. We'll talk about that today. Improve mental health, increase your energy and productivity, and really regain your quality of life. Again, you've done such a beautiful job with your people and your company. I'm so excited to have you here today, Stephanie.
Thank you so much for the introduction and your kind words.
Uh,
So
You're
grateful.
it's just awesome. I just have this, you just have this beautiful energy. I know when I first met you, I was like, wow, I like this woman.
Yeah, we hit it off straight from the beginning.
Yeah, it was just really, really cool. I know that. So tell us your story. I mean, 15 years of chronic health issues. What happened? What did you suffer with?
Oh my goodness, it was a lot. What didn't I suffer with? It really was. I remember from when I was 14 years old, I really struggled with energy. I was always tired and it didn't feel normal. Like I knew something was off, no matter how much sleep I was getting. And that was really young to feel so tired. And by the time I got to my 20s, I'd actually just accepted it. Like, well, this is just me. This is just the way that I am, and never really questioned it. But as I was getting into my early 20s, just symptom after symptom started coming on. I struggled deeply with my weight. At one stage, I was about 190 pounds, which is a lot. I'm a small 5'4" woman. It's a lot of weight to carry around. I had chronic inflammation, cystic acne. My health was in a terrible state, but my confidence, my self-worth was in a terrible state as
Mhm.
well. Um, and I've gone from doctor to doctor trying to find answers like, what is happening? Why is my digestion so bad? I kept being told that I've got food poisoning. And I thought nobody can have food poisoning for like 8 years at the time when I really just the bloating, the pain. It got to the point where even drinking water was causing me severe stomach ache.
Mhm.
And the answers that I kept getting for the weight and for the acne, everybody tried to keep putting me onto birth control and saying that's
Mhm.
what's going to sort it out. But even though I wasn't into health and wellness at the time, I knew that was something that we shouldn't necessarily be messing with our hormones. So I avoided all of that kind of stuff. And it was only when I got to the point here, about 25 years old, as I said, when even water was causing me pain, I thought enough is enough. Nobody has been able to help me up until this point. And I started to do my own research, and I started to understand about gut health, learn about gut health and the impact it can have on our overall well-being. I started to learn about liver and toxins and all this kind of stuff. And I took what I learned and I implemented it into my own life. All this research also led me to discover functional medicine. And I started working with a functional medicine practitioner. And what had happened, they had tested me and learned that when I was 4 years old, I had contracted Lyme disease. I was treated for it as hospital 4-week treatments, but it was never really fully eradicated from my body. So for 20 years, that was actually internally causing a lot of inflammation and disruption. So I went through another treatment process, got rid of that, really focused on gut health, and my entire life changed. I don't say that to sound dramatic. It honestly, in a matter of the initial stage was only 4 months it took for me to start losing the weight, for me to get my energy back, my confidence back, because I didn't realize what a bad state my mental health was in. Brain fog, anxiety, low-level depression. It was horrible. And through this journey of learning how to heal my body, it took me about 3 years to fully heal. I made a ton of mistakes along the way, and I'm grateful for that because I've learned from it. And I can now teach other people like what not to do. Don't make the same expensive mistakes I did. But after healing my body, it just came to me like, why are you not doing this for other people? I used to advise friends, family, all the rest. They used to come to me for health advice. And I thought, why am I not doing this full time? And I'd actually planned originally to go back to school and become a full-on functional medicine doctor myself. But when I looked back at my journey and thought about the 3 years or 5 years that, this whole thing encompassed, I had really great functional medicine practitioners on my team. That's not what was missing. There was a gap in my journey, and that was coaching. If only I had had a coach with me, I know that journey could have been a lot smoother and a lot easier. I didn't know that health coaching was even a thing back in the day when I was ill. So when I went back to school, I started to investigate different avenues and how can I fill the gap that was missing in my own journey. And that's where I discovered health coaching and decided to focus there and on nutrition specifically. And that's really what led me to what I'm doing now.
Oh, wow. And I love how you said you learn from your mistakes too, and then you're happy to share them because that's how we learn and grow. Right? We learn from our successes, our mistakes. Well, kudos to you. Congratulations on the journey and doing your research and taking that into your own hands and then, achieving your goal of helping people now all over the world, really. You're in, because you're in Africa, right? And you spend some time in the States as well.
That's right. I'm in South Africa at the moment. It's where I'm from, but I've been in the US about 9 years. So I spend half of my time here, half of my time in the US, and I'm just so grateful for technology that we are able to work globally.
Yeah, and it sounds like you learned a lot. This is, I'm a brain expert, right? I work with the brain, but the brain and the gut are so connected, so you learned a lot about that axis, that gut-brain axis.
Oh my goodness.
What can you share with us about how the gut impacts the brain?
Where do we even start?
I know. Isn't that a great question?
You use the term there, the gut-brain axis, and it's fascinating to me that, in conventional medicine, we tend to look at the body as very compartmentalized. It's very organ specific. You've got your brain and your brain specialist, and you've got your heart and your heart specialist, and your gut and your gut specialist. But when we come from a functional medicine perspective, we understand that the body is not made up of organs. It's made up of systems. These organs are all connected through systems. And all the systems within the body are connected. They talk to each other. They are influencing each other all the time. And one of these very, very strong connections we have within the body is the gut-brain axis, as you mentioned. So there's a few ways that these are connected, but just to simplify it a little bit, within our body, we have something that we call the vagus nerve. And this is a long nerve that runs from your brain right down into your gut. And the moment it hits your gut, it actually spreads out into millions and millions and millions of different nerve endings. And one of the ways that your gut and your brain communicate is through this vagus nerve. But the fascinating thing is that we are taught that our brain is our master organ. Our brain controls our body. Our brain sends messages throughout the body.
Mhm.
But what's interesting is with this vagus nerve, for every message that the brain sends the gut sends about 9 messages back to the brain. So your gut is telling your brain more about what's happening than your brain is telling your gut. Fascinating stuff.
Yes.
So one of the ways that our gut health truly impacts our mental health, we can talk about this from different aspects. We can talk about how the gut impacts our cognitive function, but then we can also look at how our gut is affecting our mood, our thoughts, and our sort of mental and emotional state, our mental and emotional health. So if we think about stresses that we take in through food. If you are somebody who has food sensitivities, you know, when you eat certain foods, you get a bit of pain, you get a bit of bloating. This is creating a stress response. It's creating inflammation within your gut.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are ingesting food that we are sensitive to, our body sees it as an enemy. It shouldn't be there. So your body ignites a stress response. Now you've eaten the sandwich, it's gluten, for example. You've eaten the sandwich, it's just your lunch, and your gut is in an absolute state of distress.
Mm-hmm.
It is sending all these stress signals up to your brain. So your brain is going to go into this fight or flight, this stress state. And all you've done is had a sandwich while you're sitting at work. And you cannot understand, why am I feeling so anxious? Why am I feeling irritable? Why am I feeling frustrated? It's because your body is in this fight or flight mode. And all you did was eat your lunch.
Right.
So all these sort of messages of distress that are being sent from your gut to your brain to say that there is a problem.
Yes. I mean, I've done some of this work too, because I have a similar story to you. And so those sensitivities that we have to the gluten and the different foods, they're usually formed during some kind of trauma or stress response to begin with.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's how they start. And so we have to go back, and there are ways of using different techniques to treat for sensitivities or food allergies or pollen allergies or whatever. So I know that that's important. What you also talked about was the vagus nerve, and I do neurobiofeedback, Stephanie, and I've got like 8 computers. I mean, when I was really sick, I couldn't be around computers. Now I've got like 8 computers. There's 3 here, one here, one here right now at my desk. And I balance the vagus nerve all the time.
That's
So
incredible.
because
It's
it's
so
very important, because it is that nerve that it goes throughout the body that is just sending all those signals like you mentioned. So thank you for sharing that, because that's really important. I remember when I was first learning how to do the neurobiofeedback, there was a woman that reached out to me, and I did a webinar or something, and she said, "Thank you so much for talking about the vagus nerve. Nobody realizes how important that is. I had cancer, and it was that helped me." I mean,
wow.
not that one thing. She did other things too, but she
Yes,
was
yes.
like, that was really important. So
Mm,
yeah, we want to get that point across to all of you today about that
mm.
gut brain axis. And it's interesting too, like you said, it's 9 more messages going to the brain
That's amazing.
and only
And
one from the
many
brain to the gut.
people,
Yeah.
when you say the vagus nerve, unless you are in this sort of work or into holistic health and yoga and these areas that we talk about the vagus nerve a lot, if you are
Mhm.
not in these areas, it's likely that you've never even heard about the vagus nerve. And you've just shared as well what a crucial component to health that is.
Mhm.
Yet it's not spoken about. We don't know where it is. We don't know how to treat it. And just like any nerve, you can have a pinched nerve in your spine that can affect your movement, your mobility. It can affect your pain. It can create a lot of pain. It can, pinched nerves within the spinal column can affect infertility. Like nerves are so important and so
Mhm.
um, yeah, they're so important within our health. And just like we look at nerves in our spinal column, the same thing can happen with our vagus nerve. It can get irritated, it can get weakened, it can um, prevent the communication between the gut and the brain. So we should be paying attention, make sure we're loving it, we're nourishing it, we're doing activities every day to strengthen it, make sure that it's working well. And those vagal, we call them vagal toning. As I'm sure you're familiar with, and it's actually so easy to do every single day. One of the small things you can do to really make sure that your vagus nerve is working well is things like breathing. Your
Yes.
deep, slow, calm breathing, getting into that parasympathetic nervous state. And something else that everybody does every single day, sometimes 2, 3 times a day, is brushing your teeth. And when we brush our teeth and you throw some water into your mouth to rinse it, one of the things that help with the vagus nerve is gargling. So while you are rinsing out your mouth, taking a couple seconds to gargle is really going to help with that vagus toning. Vagal toning. I'm so sorry. I'm losing my words.
No, I love that. No, that's really good. I didn't know that. That's awesome. I'm going to start gargling more. Yep. We're going to challenge all of you out there. When you brush your teeth, definitely gargle. Yeah. That's so simple, right? It's just so simple. Yeah. What are some of the signs and symptoms that your gut's imbalanced? I know you experienced those when you were sick, and you work with a lot of people helping them heal their gut. So what would you say besides just pain? What's a symptom or a sign?
Well, the common ones that we would associate with an imbalance in the gut is obviously, as you mentioned, your pain, it's your diarrhea or constipation, your bloating, acid reflux is another one. Those are very common signs, and we think, all right, if I've got this, then there must be something wrong with my digestive system. But the signs and symptoms that we do not often associate in general with gut health, and there is a direct correlation, is chronic pain in your joints, in your knees, your back. Chronic pain is a huge indicator that there's a gut imbalance, generally leaky gut. Acne is another indicator of gut imbalances. Anxiety and depression is a huge factor indicating gut imbalances. And we spoke about the vagus nerve, but something I didn't mention yet is that our gut bacteria is actually responsible for creating a lot of our hormones. It creates a lot of our vitamins, and it creates a lot of our neurotransmitters. One of the primary ones being serotonin, which is our happy hormone. 95% of our serotonin is created within the gut. So if you do not have the bacteria that creates the serotonin, you are not going to have the hormone that makes you happy. So when we are walking around with low moods, with depression, I remember for many, many years, people within my community would refer to depression as a chemical imbalance in the brain. And putting, getting onto antidepressants, but that doesn't solve anything. It might make you feel not as bad temporarily. It doesn't make you feel great. But if the problem is that there is no happy hormone produced in the gut, why are we messing with chemicals in the brain? Why do we not put the bacteria back into the gut so that the happy hormone can be produced once again? So anxiety and depression is a huge indicator that you have gut dysbiosis. So those are some of the very common ones. And then even things like asthma can indicate an issue with your gut, because you have a lung microbiome and you have a gut microbiome, and they are in constant communication as well. So your gut will definitely affect your lung health too. I'm sure there's a few
We're
that
whole people, aren't we? I mean, it's going to affect everything. Years ago I heard this, and I never forgot it. We either digest life or it digests us.
Yes, that's a great
So like that, it's everything comes back down to digestion and healing your gut. So tell us, I mean, I'm a big proponent of probiotics, good probiotics and sauerkraut and kimchi and all the fermented foods. What's your thoughts on that?
100%. Absolutely love sauerkraut. Fermented foods. Probiotics are absolutely crucial. Your probiotics, what they do is really put the bacteria, the good bacteria in your gut. We have trillions and trillions and trillions of different bacteria, viruses, microorganisms within our gut. And these bacteria, the good and the bad, we need more good than we need more good bacteria than bad bacteria. But when things are out of balance, the good bacteria gets really weak if we're not feeding it properly, or if we have high stress levels, we can kill off that bacteria, and then the bad bacteria overgrows, and this causes a lot of problems. So with probiotics, what we are doing is putting the good bacteria back into your system. And this good bacteria has a lifespan, just like we do. But for a human, our lifespan on average is 73 to 78 years old, looking at the research. Whereas your bacterial, your probiotic lifespan is anywhere from 5 to 14 days. So we need to continuously keep repopulating our gut microbiome and making sure when we put the bacteria in, they are nice and strong and they are fed properly so that they can repopulate and colonize the gut. So once we put them in, it's not enough to take a probiotic or eat your sauerkraut now and then. You really want to do it on a regular basis, and then combine that with what we call prebiotics, which is fiber. It's fiber that's found in fruits and vegetables, and that prebiotic is the food that your probiotics, that your bacteria will eat to make sure they stay big and strong and produce serotonin and GABA and all these other really great neurotransmitters and hormones that we need for great mental and physical health.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very well said. What about, so there's so many kinds, like there's so many kinds of probiotic capsules out there, or powders or even drinks, How do people know what's the best for them? Like, how can they? I mean, I have ideas because I help people learn muscle testing and then they can test themselves. But if they don't know how to do that, what would be your advice there?
I always say when it comes to digestive issues, I highly recommend that you work with somebody who understands the gut microbiome, because
Okay.
probiotics are incredible. But one of the conditions that we are seeing grow more and more and more and more is what we call SIBO. And if you are somebody who is dealing with SIBO, you will present with the same symptoms. You'll have the bloating, the fatigue, the anxiety, and this is common for a lot of people. And if you are somebody with SIBO and you are taking probiotics, it can actually aggravate the problem. And this is why a lot of the time people will say, I'm taking probiotics, I'm taking aloe, I'm eating all these healthy foods, and I'm not feeling any better, because something like SIBO is triggered by all the things that we would normally do to support your larger intestine, to support your gut microbiome. So I would encourage people to work with somebody who knows what who knows what to look for, basically, because we can go and test. If you want to, you can get something like a comprehensive stool test, and that will show you exactly what your bacterial composition is and which ones you are low in. And that way you can get really targeted with what you are going to supplement with. But for the everyday person who's looking to get a really good quality probiotic, the ones that you are often prescribed by your doctor when you take an antibiotic, if you are lucky enough to be prescribed a probiotic when you take an antibiotic, those ones that you generally find at your CVS and your Walgreens, unfortunately, do not do very much for your system. Because we need to remember that probiotics are live bacteria.
Yes.
And when they go through a manufacturing or processing, that can often be killed off. So we want to make sure whichever probiotic company or product we are using, we are getting a good quality live probiotic. This is why it's great to use food, because you are getting the live bacteria. But some tips that you can look out for when you are shopping for a probiotic is anyone that is refrigerated is generally very good, because we know we're keeping the integrity of the probiotic very high. Definitely taking a look at your sort of wellness stores would be much better to buy a probiotic from there than your Walgreens or your CVS. Nothing against those companies, but when we're looking at probiotics, we want to get a better quality one. I've got a couple companies that I would recommend for people. Would you like me to share that?
You can, yes. I mean, I also have a probiotic that I like because just like
Mhm.
you, I was sick and had to research this stuff. So I've been kind of down the road through lots of different kinds, and
Yes.
people will bring them into, when I had my office for me
Mhm.
to test them, and I would find that they needed 10 capsules to equal like one of mine. Like, they
That's correct.
just weren't strong enough, and they
Mhm.
weren't gonna do anything, just like you said, some of the, like, Costco's, CVS's, you can go spend your money there, but it's a waste of money, is
It
what I
is.
tell
It is.
people. I mean, just be
And I'm
smart, work with someone like Stephanie is talking about here. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And when you're shopping for a probiotic, I'm so sorry, my light is getting a little bit bad here.
That's okay, you're
But
getting
when you
dark there.
are shopping for a probiotic, you want to look for one that has multiple different strains on the bottle. So
Okay.
it should say, 10 different strains or 6 different strains. You don't have to know what all the strains are, like that's next level stuff, but just look for one with multiple different strains, and you want it to have a high amount of what we call CFUs, colony forming units. This means that when you take that probiotic, it's going to form these big colonies, healthy colonies within your gut. So any probiotic that you're looking at should say anywhere from about uh, 300 million, which is actually on the lower end, up to about 10 billion probiotic CFUs. We're looking in the millions and billions here.
Okay.
You get some that even have 50 billion, really high amounts, but more is not always better. You need to see how your body is going to react and respond to the probiotic. And if you
Mhm.
try one and you feel like it's making you bloated or it's not working, don't give up on probiotics altogether, but try a different brand.
Okay, awesome. How else do we, heal leaky gut? So besides
Yes.
probiotic, what else would you recommend if someone and actually explain leaky gut?
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is something I work with pretty much every single day of my life.
Yeah.
I love
Yes.
talking about it. That bacterial imbalance that I mentioned now is what we call dysbiosis, and that is only one of the things that you could be happening within your gut microbiome. It's very common, and it's a high chance that you have that. But the second one that we see most often, and the research is showing now that over 70% of people, not even just adults, people are experiencing a leaky gut to some degree or another. And that is an insane statistic because our body should not be doing that. It's not
Yes.
like it blows my mind. I'm not surprised, but it's a very unfortunate statistic. So,
Mhm.
leaky gut, your gut microbiome, your gut lining is only one cell layer thick. So, it's a very, very, very thin layer, but it's strong. And these cells that make up your gut lining are very tightly packed together. And
Mhm.
the only thing that can get from your gut, from your colon through to your bloodstream is vitamins and minerals when your food is broken down.
Mhm.
Now, what happens with leaky gut? These cells start to separate. They start to pull apart and become permeable or leaky. And now
Mhm.
all of a sudden you have these big gashes within your colon. And it's not just vitamins and minerals getting through, but it is toxins that are supposed to be coming out in our poop is now pushed into our bloodstream. It is undigested pieces of food. It is all this horrible stuff that shouldn't be there. So the moment it crosses into your bloodstream,
Mhm.
it sets off an immune response. Your immune system goes crazy and says there's an enemy, we need to fight this, and you get very, very, very inflamed. For this exact reason, that's why we see such a massive correlation between the gut microbiome or leaky gut and autoimmune disease,
Right.
because this leaky gut is creating an insane immune response, high inflammation, the production of antibodies, and this can often lead to autoimmune disease.
Mhm.
And just before I even talk about how we're going to heal that, on the note of brain health as well, when this starts to happen in your digestive lining, the same thing starts to happen within your brain, but it's not leaky gut. We either call it leaky brain or breakage in the gut brain barrier. And
Mhm.
this is horrible for our health, because now these toxins that have escaped into our bloodstream, or this undigested food, travels through our bloodstream, and it can actually get lodged in our brain tissue. It can cross from our bloodstream into our brain. And when we have toxins sitting in our brain, when we have undigested pieces of food, to make it very visual, sitting in our brain, of course we're going to be angry and anxious and irritable and have brain fog and struggle with our memory, because our brain cannot function properly when there's a lot of nonsense stuck up there. There's toxins and everything. So we want to make sure that we're healing the leaky gut and healing that blood-brain barrier.
Yes, as you're describing this, it's bringing me back to when I was really sick and all the symptoms that I had, from the anxiety to the depression to the toxins in my brain to, the panic attacks, to everything that I went through. And I had to do that too, Stephanie, is heal my leaky gut. And that was like 1990, 89, 90. Nobody knew anything then. There weren't functional medicine doctors then. I found an osteopathic doctor that helped me with supplements. And he said, "How are you walking around? You're not digesting anything." And I said, "My son was born. I have to be his mom." So it's that footprints poem, God carried me, right?
Yes.
So my spiritual body must be pretty strong, but my physical body was a total mess. So yeah, but that's such a great explanation. So I hope you guys are listening and you're maybe even taking notes, or, listen again, because that's just a beautiful explanation of all of that and how that really happens. I also remember seeing it happen again when my daughter was about 3 or 4. She ended up with a lot of food sensitivities. And again, that was inflammation, right? So that all that inflammation and the stress, but the stressor for her and for me at the time was pesticides.
Yes.
Pesticides and herbicides. And what I see them do is they knock out the small intestine and you can't absorb.
Well,
So-
that's where the SIBO comes in as well. That's where that's really, really getting badly affected. And
Yes. So pollution.
pesticides, pollution, even medications. A lot of people are taking medications, and there's no judgment about that. You trust in your doctor. Your doctor's doing the best that he or she thinks they can for you. But these medications, whether it's antidepressants, sleeping pills, fertility, contraceptives, sorry, that's what I mean, contraceptive, all these sort of things are wreaking havoc within your gut. I'm not saying to anybody to stop all your medications right now, but just be aware of this. Your over-the-counter anti-inflammatories, all of these things, Tylenol, it's causing chaos within the gut, just as the pesticides are, just as high stress levels are. So if you know these things are a factor for you in your life, don't stop everything immediately. Like, everything is done in phases, but start to pay a bit more attention to your gut. Start to use the probiotics. Start to heal leaky gut. And that can be done depending on the severity, but you can heal leaky gut within 6 weeks in a lot of cases.
Nice.
If you have an autoimmune condition, a severe one you've lived with for many years, it may take up to about 8 months to heal the leaky gut. It's just dependent, and of course, how committed you are to managing your stress and using organic foods and things like that. That will obviously impact the length of your healing journey.
Absolutely. And so healing leaky gut is not just probiotics, though. So as a functional medicine, and a coach, you probably work a lot with supplements and the different testing that you can do to find out what's really going on. What are just some common things that people might need to do, either both food or supplements, to heal that leaky gut?
Yes. And not everybody has to jump in and do testing right away. That's not always our first port of call. So just sitting at home, there's so much that you can do for your gut. So from a food perspective, just really briefly, things like bone broth, really, really supportive for healing leaky gut. Aloe vera can be really soothing. Aloe juice, having a small cup of aloe juice in the morning or before meals, really soothing, really healing for your gut lining. Can help with that acid reflux instead of taking the PPIs and that kind of thing. So we want to look at your bone broth, your aloe. lots of fruits and vegetables. Think color, there's variety of color, eating the rainbow. That is going to be incredibly supportive for your gut. But from a supplement perspective, I'd never treat leaky gut just by using food. I do feel that supplements are imperative to use because it speeds up the process and it gets us feeling better sooner. And the moment we start to feel better, we're willing to do more. We're willing to make a few more changes or go that one step extra in our healing journey. So the sort of supplements that I recommend people to use, number one is always L-glutamine. It is my absolute favorite thing to use for gut health. So getting onto L-glutamine, and with everything I mentioned, consistency is key. I think just with anything in life, if you really want to get great results, you need to be consistent. So making sure you're consistent with your supplements and you are using the correct dosages as well. So L-glutamine is amazing. Collagen, really, really good for healing the gut lining. Vitamin D is very crucial. Vitamin C, it's not just for our immune system. We need it for healing our leaky gut as well. And then things like vitamin A can be really supportive. We use omega-3s, really, really helpful for your gut. And then, of course, you can bring in some herbs like slippery elm or marshmallow root. But these initial ones that I mentioned are really the core nutrients that we would use for healing leaky gut.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. Yep. And I take all of those.
Great.
Yeah, but I didn't know all that. I didn't know all that way back when. I mean, I've learned a lot too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's really important. And I'm consistent, so I thank you for sharing that too. You want to be consistent. You want to think about your self-care, and taking care of you is the number one thing you need to do.
It is.
You can't care for others. There's a lot of practitioners listening. You can't care for others unless you care for yourself first.
It's true. I tell people all the time, the things that are important to you, whether it's your business or your parents or your kids or your husband or your wife, all these things that you are sacrificing your health to look after or to take care of, if you cannot, in this stage of life, if you are not in a position where you truly love and appreciate and see your own self-worth, so if you cannot feel like you can love yourself enough to make yourself a priority, love everybody and everything else around you enough to take care of yourself. If that is what you are focusing on, love them enough to take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself.
You want them to get the best of you. You don't want your husband or your wife to get the leftovers, the sort of 10% of who you are or who you were. You don't want your business, the thing that you are passionate about, that vision you have, that impact you want to have. You're not going to create that at only 10%. So love that vision enough. Love that impact you want to have enough to put yourself first and to take care of yourself. And when you can have a mindset shift, things will shift for you. It becomes easy to take care of yourself. Easier to take care of yourself.
Easier. Beautifully said. Absolutely. Yes. So give us a story. I know we had your story of you healing you. Share a story with us about a client success that you've had.
Oh, of course. I would love to. Let me think of a nice juicy one for you. All right. So I was working with a client a few years ago, and she had come to me. She was incredibly overweight as well. Didn't really understand much about health, but she was very young. She was 23 years old, living off of sort of takeout and microwave meals and that kind of thing, not exercising very much. But at 23, she was incredibly scared because she had just been diagnosed as diabetic and put onto medication. She was on PPIs for not just acid reflux GERD, which is the chronic form. She had been put onto blood pressure medication, and she had to sleep with one of those sleep apnea machines. She had been diagnosed with sleep apnea, so she had to sleep with one of those machines. She was working for a startup company that she was really enjoying, but she had to take a lot of time off of work because she was suffering from migraines, and she was worried that she was going to lose her job. So this was an incredible situation because within 3 weeks of us starting a program, looking at gut health, most definitely. But for her, we had to bring stress management into it. Stress management was massively, it was crucial for what we were ended up being able to do. So within 3 weeks, she was off all of her chronic GERD medication. I'm so sorry, I'm losing my words, but she got off her GERD medication. It was only 6 days into the program that she stopped using the machine for sleep apnea. She ended up losing 105 pounds within the time that we worked together.
Wow.
Blood pressure dropped so much. What I had encouraged her to do from the beginning is to regularly meet with her doctor. And she was very compliant, which was amazing. She was so determined to get better. But I said, you need to regularly meet with your doctor because your medication is going to come down. And she said, no, the doctor said this is something she has to be on for life. I asked her for her trust and I said, you are always in the driver's seat, but as a recommendation, please go and work with your doctor as well, because we are now using 3 forms of medication. You're on your chronic meds, we are using food as medication, and we are using certain stress management techniques as medication. 3 months after she started working with me, she didn't have a single chronic medication in her whole daily routine. She had gotten off of absolutely everything. So every few weeks, she lowered her medication. She went to half a dose and then only once a day instead of twice a day. And it eventually got to the point where her blood pressure had dropped too low because unfortunately at the time, her doctor did not want to take her off of the medication. But out of her own, she stopped it and she went back to the doctor and the doctor said to her, look, your readings are normal. This is why I didn't want to take you off. And she said, Doc, in all honesty, I stopped it 2 weeks ago. That's why my levels are normal. So within 3 months, she was off all of her medication. She was no longer diabetic, no sleep apnea, no high blood pressure, no GERD. It was incredible. And it wasn't 3 months that she lost 105 pounds. That did take longer. It would be unhealthy to lose that much in 3 months. But it probably took her about 8 or 9 months to lose all that weight. It was unbelievable.
Oh, that's a great story. That's such a great, and she was so young. Wow, to have all those medications and imbalances at that young of age. Wow, great job. Great job. That does actually make me sad when I see how many young people are sick because of our diet, because of our polluted world, because they need to be educated in this, They should be teaching this in schools, right? How to take care of yourself.
They should be.
Right?
It's shocking to me. And I truly still hope and pray that this is something that is going to come into schools. But I know that the world is changing. We are getting more aware of the fact of nutrition and of food on our lifestyle. It's nowhere near perfect. Of course, it's not. We have so far to go, but every single day I do see the shift. I do see it in the grocery store. I see it in the conversations I'm having. I'm seeing it in the things that people order when we're out at restaurants or what the restaurants are offering. It's small things, but at least that shift is starting. And I'm hopeful for that. There's other days where look everywhere I look, there's somebody who's sick and has horrible mindset around health. And then you do have those days where you feel a little bit down and like my mission is almost impossible. Those days are far and few between. And you just need to manage your mind through them and get a good night's rest, do some exercise, and you wake up the next day feeling positive again.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for sharing that too, because we all have our days. And yet I agree with you. I see such a change in the last 25 years. And then there were no gluten-free cookbooks when I started this journey.
I
None.
can believe that.
Okay.
And you have seen a shift.
There was nothing. And there was not a Whole Foods. There was not organic food stores. There was a one little health food store with, some Shelton's chicken and moldy bananas and apples, and most of it was vitamins, so you couldn't get, organic food and the availability of it today. So it has been a big shift and it's really cool to see. It's really awesome.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And these things can be really easy to do. Looking for organic produce. I know it can sound quite overwhelming. Like where do I find this stuff? I either don't have the money to buy organic produce because it's expensive. These are just some of the things that come up a lot for me when I'm talking with people, or they don't know where to shop. They don't know where to get gluten-free bread. They don't know where to get oil-free salad dressings or whatever the case is. And once you know what to buy, where to buy, just how to shop, you can actually do it far cheaper than what you do right now. And your health is going to thank you for it. It's not about restricting yourself and not eating the things that you like, but really just finding healthier alternatives, ones that serve your body. So with every bite of that salad with doused in salad dressing, but you know that you are serving your body. In whatever food it is, that piece of chocolate that you're eating is actually healing your body. It is nurturing your body. It's not harming it. So you just need to know what to buy, where to buy, how to shop. It's really not overwhelming. It becomes so easy, I promise you.
Yes, absolutely. I can tell you walk people through that. Yeah, it's not that hard today. There's a lot available, and it's a health insurance policy. You might spend a little bit more, but like Stephanie said, you'll find the different stores, different places you can go, and you can do it economically if you're smart. You can figure it out. Yeah.
There's
Absolutely.
that saying, I can't remember, I might say it a little bit wrong, but either invest in your health now or pay a little bit more for your health now, or you will pay a hell of a lot more for your illness later.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it is. And I love the fact that there's more, and you're working with mindset too. I love that you're doing that as well. You're helping people with their stress, because stress is the cause of all disease in the body, because we're whole people. You guys, you're an emotional being first, and I always say you're a soul with a body, not a body with a soul. So you got to
Yeah.
take care of that, and when you take care of that and you follow all these recommendations and everything Stephanie's recommending here, especially if you're listening and you have gut problems, or you have SIBO and you've got issues, find someone to work with, right?
Yeah.
They can really put you on a really good protocol. And I know that you work with people all over the world. So because of, we're global today, isn't that so fun?
Yeah. We are.
I just love that. And I know that you have something valuable to offer all of our listeners here today. So tell us a little bit about that, Stephanie.
Oh, I would love to. I'd love to. Thank you. So, as you shared, the spiritual, the mental component is incredibly important. And out of your whole brain, incredible brain system that you offer, the part that I really do focus on is, as we spoke about today, it's that B, it's the body. How can we serve your body while we are working on the mental aspect as well? Because it can't just be one or the other. It takes many pieces to build that puzzle. So, what I would love to offer you, or anybody who's interested, if you do want to have a conversation, if you would like to learn, maybe identify what are some of the triggers for your health concerns. Do you have a gut issue? Or maybe you're looking for some tips on, I know there's a bunch of things that I need to do, but I'm struggling on how to really implement that in my life. I don't know how to cook healthy meals. I don't know where to shop, or, how to create healthier routines for myself. Then I would love to offer up a free consultation with your audience, whoever would like to take me up on that offer. We can do a thriving life creation session. It's 30 minutes. The most valuable thing I can offer you is my time. So I would be honored to spend 30 minutes guiding you and answering your questions, and hopefully being a missing piece in your puzzle.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much. That's so generous. So you know what? You're listening. Take Stephanie up on this. It's the Thriving Life Creation session with her. It's 30 minutes, and you'll learn more about your body in that 30 minutes than you will even in this podcast, because it's for you, right? It's for
Yeah.
you. Yeah, absolutely. What a beautiful thing. Gosh, Stephanie,
And
this has
we'll
been
have a few laughs. We'll have a few laughs along the way as well. Health can be incredibly serious and daunting, and it doesn't need to be. So we'll take a deep dive, figure out what's wrong, have a few laughs, create a roadmap, and you are going to leave there feeling inspired, motivated, and incredibly clear on what you need to do.
Oh, I love that. Again, I just love your positivity. I love your style. It's just absolutely beautiful. Hey, if you were going to leave us with a brain tip today, what would that be?
Brain tip.
A brain tip. Yes.
I don't know if this is quite what you're looking for, but the first thing that comes to mind, I would say, is spend time outside.
Nice.
Brain trip, spend time outside. Never underestimate what that time in nature can do for you. Your mental health, the vitamin D, we need vitamin D for our brain function, our cognitive function, our mood. So spend time outside, spend time in nature. The way that we connect to nature is next level stuff that is not taught in schools. It is not taught to us when we are young. But as you said, we are spiritual, or we are souls before we are bodies. And if you want to connect back to that, spend time in nature. If you want that mental clarity, if you are feeling stuck in work, if you are feeling upset from a horrible conversation, there's nothing being outside in nature can't improve.
Absolutely. Wow, I'm right with you. Let's take that walk on the beach or in the woods or in the mountains together. Yeah, I'm here in the mountains of Albuquerque, and that's my happy place for sure. So beautiful. Thank you so much for your time today and all your wisdom and sharing with us. It was just a gift to be with you. So, thank you all for listening. And remember, follow your heart, but take your brain with you.
I love it.